Karl Hammer is growing 600 chickens. That's 300 eggs a day on absolutely no grain. What's the magic? Right there. Compost. Day 99 of the Great American Farm Tour, y'all. I cannot believe where we are. Karl Hammer, Vermont composting. You see that? You guys see that? Chickens free to go wherever they want to go. But I guarantee you, oh, way more up there, guys. Way more up there in the compost piles.
How do we get over? It says do not enter.
Oh, well, we've got a special tour coming with Karl himself scheduled in about 10 minutes. The rain has let off. It's been raining all morning. I cannot wait to see this chicken system. This is it. Come on, guys, come on back down. Let's go find Karl. This is a chicken system where they're completely off grain. They're on compost. There's some food residuals in there, but not that much. They're feeding off the microbial life in there. Cannot wait to find out more about it. It's Karl who inspired me to first wean my chickens off of grain, first through free ranging, and then through my own composting system at a homestead level. So, can you tell? I'm excited. Everyone, this is Karl Hammer, Vermont Compost. You can get down. Yeah. So how many chickens you got here, Karl?
Well, we started the last census, I think, was about 600.
600. 600.
We have had as many as 1,200.
What? What happened? Did you downgrade?
Well, that's we had a building that wasn't really adequate, and this building is good for about 650.
Okay.
And we're planning to move the birds.
Okay.
So this is where they lay.
Nice. So if you have 600 birds, how many eggs are you getting a day?
Well, it varies. Our average layout right now is probably about 50%.
Okay.
So we're getting something like 300 a day.
Where's your feeders?
Not quite. There's our feeder. We don't feed any grain. We do feed bread on hay.
We're sneaking around looking for some feeders here somewhere.
Yeah, no
but
feeders.
There's none, huh?
No feeders.
300 eggs a day on 600 birds, no feeders. You gave them some water.
Yeah, we give them.
You gave them some water, and is that some minerals in that?
Well, that's kelp and oyster shell.
That's kelp and oyster shell.
Yeah, and I'm not sure we're getting quite 300 right now because we're down a little from the peak.
Okay. Okay.
And again, you know, this is the age of the flock matters. Younger, you know, first time we often have birds that will go through 3 or 4 or even more molts.
Okay. Okay.
So our birds live for a number of years typically.
Oh.
So we're not trying to squeeze every egg out. You know, a hen is born with every egg she'll ever lay.
Oh.
And then she has to do this enormous task every day of taking a tiny microscopic egg and turning it into an egg.
Do you ever harvest the birds themselves?
We do. We don't. I mean, when they stop laying, we sometimes. So we're not especially vigilant about that. Okay. We figure if she's eating and pooping and imparting knowledge. Yeah. We're very into the culture part of this because bird sociology is very important to the management. You know, that they know what's prudent and what's not. And we've produced eggs for sale on this farm every day of every year since '98. Nice. Without buying grain.
So tell us more about how in the world you don't buy grain.
Well, so this feeding mix is a combination of cow manure, horse manure, our own donkey and mule manure, and food residuals from area schools, supermarkets, co-op, restaurants. So I think in 2016 we accepted for management about 1,200 wet tons of community food scraps. And all of that got blended. We can go up where the blending happens.
How much of the compost pile is actual food residual?
Well, a starting ratio is never more than about 20%.
So what do you think they're eating in there?
Well, I think they're eating all kinds of things, because they're eating all of the componentry is in transition as soon as it gets blended. So they're eating protein and carbohydrates from the food itself. They're eating bacterial and fungal components. They're eating bugs and grubs. They do a lot of other foraging. So those rocks end up rolling down because that's a chicken managed worm farm over there. Okay. If you look at see this sculpture?
Yes.
That's all chicken sculpture. Okay. And these piles, they get worked a lot with loaders, but you can see the chickens. Like, this is a pile of wood chips, granite, and basalt that we use for winter traction. So this is our winter traction mix, which is 80% wood chips, which keeps it from freezing. Okay, which you don't have the kind of challenges that we do with winter.
Not that much, no.
But in the winter here, this gets very slippery, and we need to be able to get trucks up this steep hill. So,
you feed them grain in the winter?
No.
Not even in the winter?
No, but the piles have to be hot.
You got to keep the piles going.
So we have these two feeding piles. They get fresh material put on them every morning. And then at some point we harvest that and windrow it up here.
So did you learn this lesson from the wild birds? Like right here, you got a ton of wild birds feeding on this.
Yeah, you know, and the funny thing is we didn't have any gulls for several years.
So where'd you come up with the idea to let chickens eat on your compost?
I don't really know. It occurred to me one day that there was a guy with a health food restaurant in town, Gary Beardsworth, and he decided to compost the food scraps from his cafe, and
coming this way.
He set up a 3-bin system downtown, and the health officer showed up within a day and threatened to close the restaurant. So he called me and asked if I could use it, and at the time we had probably 25 or 30 birds, household flock. So I said sure, and that's where it started.
Nice.
So you know what black garlic is? So this is running just about perfect black garlic temperature. Well, you're supposed to leave your garlic for 40 days at 140 Fahrenheit.
What? Nice.
So this is day 4.
What will ultimately you do with all this compost?
We will sell it and make potting soil out of it. It's a lot of what we do.
Where do you sell?
We sell probably 35 or 40% of our production is right here in Vermont, and about 65% goes out of state now. We've got the perfect black garlic temperature going here.
Nice. He's got black garlic buried in there.
Oh, really?
Yep. It's part of its process.
Well, this is my first time
of
making black garlic.
Okay.
I've been growing garlic for over 40 years, and I'd never heard of black garlic till lately.
Wait, I don't even know what it is.
Yeah, I couldn't believe I was. Nobody told me either. Black garlic, Korean and Chinese.
Okay.
So it's typically 30 to 50 days in a container of some kind that retains moisture at temperatures around 140 Fahrenheit, which is Maillard process. Are you familiar with the Maillard? Maillard was a French chemist who identified Maillard process. And this is a little hotter maybe. Well, that's about right. Maillard process is what makes bread brown.
Okay.
It's what makes coffee brown. Many things. So it's not microbial. It's a complex sugar dynamic that happens. It's a slow caramelizing, basically.
Okay.
And it really changes the character of garlic. Makes it very sweet. And our garlic is very high sugar anyway. Ours is running about 47 bricks. So anyway, it turns as black as your. And it's kind of chewy. You can spread it. It keeps indefinitely. It can be dehydrated and powdered.
Right.
It's used medicinally.
I bet it's super healthy for you.
Yeah, it's gonna make me live forever is what I'm afraid of. But this will have to be turned before that's ready. So I'm hoping that everybody's supposed to know that's there, and I'm hoping we're not gonna end up. So food comes in and gets mixed, an engineered substrate.
Okay. This is alfalfa grown here.
Yep, because we want the birds to have access to alfalfa. We have to manage weed seed.
Oh.
But we want them to always have a place where mycorrhizal spores are being generated so that the birds can invector mycorrhizal potential. We don't want our compost process to get so extensive that it doesn't intersect the field and forest ecology, because we want to participate in that and bring it forward. Food comes from supermarkets, etc., collected by a couple of haulers and gets brought up here. This is the last couple days worth.
Okay.
Blended. It gets thrown, typically dumped here.
Okay.
And then blended with what we call hot mix.
Okay.
Which includes maple bark, in this case, hardwood bark. That's a biochar product. This is incoming cow and horse manure getting blended to make the blending material. All of that activity with the raw is on a bed of bark that's about 3 feet deep. So the bark gets slowly incorporated, but it's first used as a filter for the liquids, which are then channeled to that filter cup.
Where do you get the bark?
This bark comes from Quebec, where the logs are sawn, but the logs are really Vermont logs.
Oh.
This is, you can smell the bark right here. So bark is very enzymically potent and has a much narrower CN ratio than a wood chip would. So we've been using hardwood bark for a very long time. It's a relatively expensive ingredient, but we like the quality of the compost it makes. Project is a water management project. Here again, this is a wood chip blend with granite and basalt, which is how we, that's our traction mix, but we also use it as a primary filter. And then we're carrying, see, that's all finished compost, so the substrate here is shaped so that all the raw material juices do not go out onto the pad with the finished material, because we're trying to keep that separation. And we're trying to keep that pond drinkable. So this road actually is sand, deep lay of sand on the original sod, retained in place with stone and rivet, it's got a stone revetment on top of it, but it is itself a sand filter, just so that we assure ourselves that we maintain potability of that pond. And so we carry all of that leachate on the inside to a filter. And we have, well, mostly the further, all of that further field is pasture nowadays, though we have a couple of pieces of plow ground. We grow a little bit of garlic. We make our black garlic. There's the jackass that is the, and we have one genet there, Mary, and the baby and his mother and the mule. So all of this goes into this little cattail wetland and across there, and it actually crosses again with a pipe This is kind of the crossroads of the farm. So we take this material out here into this wandering filter, which is under construction at the moment. Always under construction, but we're... So are you familiar with the term hugel culture?
Yeah. But you can explain it for those that don't.
So when at a certain point it became clear in certain parts of Northern Europe, in Germany and Austria and places like that, that there were these terraces that had tremendous productivity over hundreds of years. They were enormously productive, and archaeologists determined at a certain point that they were constructed of forest debris, wood, long time ago. Of course, people all over the world build terraces out of whatever they have. So if you were in the forest, you would naturally use wood. So we have access to various kinds of wood, and so we use it in conjunction with compost and wood chips and other materials to literally build the filters, because there's a lot of value in the leachate from the process. Hello folks.
Look guys.
So this is Mary, and she's been bred. Right,
Hey Mary.
And Mary's doing some harness work.
Bigger than I imagined.
Yeah, these are mammoth American jackstock.
These are huge. Look at them compared to the kids there.
Yeah.
It's Mary. Say hey to Mary.
Hi, Mary.
So what's the role of the donkey here, Carl?
Well, we work them.
Okay.
And we, so here's our jack, Cody, and he's actually got a fancy pedigree that goes back to some very important jack stock. He's shedding right now, but
yeah, hang on.
that fence is hot. That fence is hot, isn't it?
He knows.
Yeah, he does.
So what's the job they do? You use it for work. Are you hauling? Are you plowing? Or what are you doing?
Well, we deliver eggs right now. Let's see.
Oh,
Let me see
okay.
if I can come up readily with a picture here. You have a picture on your phone? He doesn't approve of phones, actually. He doesn't.
You're not picked up on phones yet?
You put your phone up. He's apt to take it if you. He doesn't like his face presented with phones. He doesn't. Let's see.
You want to be held up here? You'll try, Lily? Oh, there you go. There you go. Sweet.
So there we are last week. This is, well, you haven't met either of them. This is an old mule named Katie, and Ruby, who's the mother of our baby. Yeah. So,
Nice.
and yeah, we were just coming back from delivering at the co-op.
And that made the news.
Yeah, it did. We're on the front page of the newspaper.
Okay.
But a lot of this is about about endangered livestock breeding.
Yeah.
Mammoth American jackstock was very important to the development of this country. These particular bloodlines come from the Pyrenees in Spain, the type of donkey there that's called the Ruc Català. They're amazing animals. I got my first jack when I was probably 20 years old.
Wow.
So I've had.
What was their role in American history then?
Somewhere in his pedigree, he goes back to a gift of the King Carlos III to George Washington. The name of that jack was Royal Gift. And the King of Spain was the first European power to recognize the new republic, because it was a stick in England's eye, and because the King of Spain knew that in order to do plantation agriculture, the United States would need mules. Slaves were very expensive, so in order to grow indigo and sugar and cotton, you needed mules.
Okay.
Horses can't work in the heat the way mules can, nor can oxen. And oxen are slow, so mules were very, very important for tropical and subtropical agriculture. So not to be outdone, Lafayette then gave George Washington a Maltese jack that was called Knight of Malta. And both George Washington and Thomas Jefferson were all very engaged in mule breeding. and it became a very important industry in places with good limestone soils like Missouri, Kentucky, Tennessee, Carolina, parts of the Carolinas, that could build big cannon bones on mules. It's not the first time that a fortune was made in mules. In Poitou, France, in Poitou, France, in the 15th century, great fortunes were made. They have a particular jack called the Poitou, jack stock called the Poitou, that is the biggest of jacks in the world. For many years, they would not allow any jack stock out of Poitou.
You gotta be careful.
They have their own horse called a moulassier, with which they made mules, and they bred the big, heavy draft mules of Flanders. These critters coming from the Pyrenees, a little more compact, a little faster. I say these critters coming from the Pyrenees, these two in particular really exemplify the Pyrenees bloodlines.
He's wanting some hay, Carl.
Yeah, he is. You think they need hay? Yeah. In '98, gathering food waste around town with a pair of big mules. And we've had big mules here mostly. We're down to one big mule. The mule's aged, got old and died. But now that we have these mammoth donkeys and we're committed to breeding them, we want to make them work as well.
Okay.
And do without. So we still have one mule, and she's kind of our trainer. She's 24 years old.
Okay.
She's very traffic safe. We have one Janet that we're working her with. That's also a very prudent person. She's doing a great job, and we have a foal by her, and she's bred back. And we're probably going to buy another couple Janets by and by here. But our goal is to ultimately have a team of 4 to pull the freight that we're trying to pull. We have a young teamster who's very gung-ho. Kaylee is her name. Yeah, she's here, well, pretty much 5 days a week, putting harness on and doing some training. We have a young animal we're training. We really think of them as plausible power for the future. So in each case here, the water flow for the last 15,000 years has been straight down into the Blanchard Brook and onto the Winooski River and Lake Champlain, but we've turned everything.
Ah.
Okay. So, and we have, again, you know, there's an active pad, so that berm separates the potable water from the processed water. Okay. So in every case, and that's actually I dug that hole in '96 when I bought the place to water my critters. It was the first place I could hold water because there's a kind of big lay of underground river cobble, big rocks here, and there I found soil I could keep water. So, and we've kept that ever since, both to mark the original grade where the water was, and to so we can feed our heron frogs, and so we can count legs on frogs to see whether our activities or anything, and we have very healthy, prolific, two-legged frog. Is a constructed terrace. Again, you know, like by the time you get to these pear trees, there may be 15 feet of fill from original grade, because this was a steep gully. And there we turn it again. This is the top of the watershed. All of this water gets directed, so every drop of water on the farm has a destination that's been designed for it.
Okay.
And enforced upon it. Because we really don't want to be releasing nutrients from the farm. We want to, it's our responsibility, and it's also what we have to sell.
Yeah.
So
I'm going to keep it all here. Why do you cover the chickens' compost there?
Oh, well, we had that framed. They like it in midwinter. It's good for them. Okay. When we shortened that building, we decided to throw another cover on. The birds like it. It's right by the house there. When it's really snowing or raining, that little bit of shelter gives them a little thermal benefit. You know, it just keeps them drier.
How often do you change out what they're on right now?
They get new every day, and it gets taken out every 10 or 12 days.
So if somebody were to do this on the homestead level, could they?
Yes. Yes, you certainly could. That's all where we make blended media, that space.
Compost pile has to be 3 cubic yards or meters big to heat up. Is that right? Is that what you found? It's the minimum size?
I don't know. Well, frequently people say a yard, but the yard is small.
Okay.
So let's say 3 yards is a size where you can start to get, and again, where you are matters. In Vermont, in the winter, we really need a fair amount of thermal bump for the birds.
Okay.
To be comfortable, you know, because if the pile's really hot, they get to, it moves them south.
Yeah. So if a homesteader was going to make one of those piles, how many birds could they feed on one of those piles?
Well, our rule of thumb has been, and I wouldn't take this to any bank, that we need a minimum of about 2 pounds of average mixed food waste or food scraps per bird per day.
Okay.
Other people have felt they needed more, and you know, obviously it's very different. A pound of lettuce or a pound of salami have very different energy arithmetic, so they're not going to live on lettuce.
No.
They're not, and they can't live on pasture. They're omnivores, and they need to be. They have a short, durable digestive system. They're very hard to poison, but they need higher protein density than pasture alone. So insects are really important. Worms and bugs and grubs. We're very convinced that there are fungal components that they eat and benefit from, and bacterial components that they eat and benefit from. We think the manure, the mammal manures are also really important if available. We haven't tried to do it without mammal manure, so I'm not sure how much that would change things. We have birds that don't go up to there's always a little colony of birds that lives in the mule barn and manages mule manure and donkey manure and raises worms and doesn't bother going up where food is.
Wow.
They're not supposed to be there. They're discouraged, but we do have some laying boxes in there. They also tend to self-replicate.
Yeah.
You know, they're kind of mountain renegade group. It's a very safe place because it's where the dog sleeps. So, you know, fox doesn't come down here.
Ah.
Right? So we're under pretty serious predator pressure here. That's why we need this, especially because of bears. And we've never had a bear here. But bears go around both sides. My bookkeeper gave up keeping chickens because the bears were breaking into their chicken. And we have coyotes and foxes. And the donkeys help with that too. They're really hard on, well, we're here in the suburbs, so you know, domestic dogs are, and we don't see much of that on the farm.
Yeah, I've heard that donkeys are good guard animals. Is that true?
Yes, donkeys are very good guard animals. This is what we were on the street with.
Ah.
In fact, we even have.
Is this an old manure spreader?
It is.
Converted manure spreader.
Here's what we dropped on the street on our last trip.
So you don't leave it there, you harvest it? Yeah,
we pick it up because it's valuable, and leaving it on the street seems irresponsible. But I started my route in town with this. This was always just a running gear. I have an old New Idea completely intact with front trucks and everything, rubber tired. But this makes it's a very convenient in-town wagon. We pull it with a 4-cart. And we're getting ready to offer residential pickup of compostables.
Cool.
And we're going to sell them eggs, and we're going to find some other things to sell them, and we're going to, you know, try to make Kaylee's pay, and something besides.
Yeah.
We did the delivery to the comp, and we were a little practice. You could do some donkey mimicry. But so we're working on it, but we're kind of committed to the idea of having it be profitable.
Yeah, I love it.
Because the safest place for an endangered species is being profitable.
Being profitable farm. Good for you.
So, well, right now in India, if Vandana Shiva's numbers are to be believed, animal power provides $2 billion worth of avoided fuel burn.
Wow.
And 6.6 million metric tons of carbon not excreted. So, you know, because remember, you feed them on grass.
Yeah.
And you get the value of the manure. And so for small farming, the economics is compelling. It really is. So we're trying to retain that capability here in terms of skills, and we're very much a mixed power farm, but we're really trying to use these animals where they make sense, and in such a way that it. And you know, to give you an idea, Teamster here is making pretty serious wage. You know, everybody here is making more than $15 basically.
Good.
And my Teamster is actually getting paid more than that. She's a little bit of a prodigy and 19 years old. Nice. Yeah, but very, very, very good at. You know, she's really a critter whisperer. So I'm optimistic that we're actually, well, we're on the street. We have a route. We've been delivering eggs, and we're going to start picking up some other business, whatever it may be. We have the advantage that we're less than 2 miles from the co-op. Nice. So this is actually on Main Street in the capital city.
Well, thank you, Karl.
Yeah, thank you.
This has been awesome to see this, and we appreciate what you're doing.